The girl was, in everyone's eyes, a young lady worthy of a noble family. But the first time she met her teacher, she opened her mouth and ordered him to clean her feet. However, not only did the teacher refuse, but he slapped her with the back of his hand. Because before Derek arrived, he had already obtained permission from Dela's father to treat her as he wished. And the only reason Derek could obtain that kind of authority was because he was a knight. It turned out that Derek was a transmigrator, but after crossing over he discovered he was nothing more than a beggar. Even the mentor who taught him magic was just an old beggar who loved to show off. That old man wasn't some powerful, hidden figure in disguise. He was simply an ordinary one-star mage. The old beggar needed others to flatter him, and Derek needed to learn magic, so they got along well. But it only took Derek a year to reach the height the old man had spent his whole life barely brushing against. However, the old man not only didn't encourage him, but gradually began to destroy his confidence. With your talent, at most you'll reach 2 stars. Magic depends on lineage. No matter how hard you try, it's useless. It turned out that in this world, magic was a privilege of the nobility, and many nobles could even reach 3 stars before coming of age. That night was so long it seemed endless, and Derek couldn't tell if the old man was warning him or venting his resentment. But the next day, Derek saw the old man's corpse. It looked like he had been beaten. His whole body was covered in wounds. At first, Derek thought the old man had gotten into a conflict with someone and they had left him in that state from a beating. Only later did he learn that the old man had been beat to death by the guards because he was caught stealing a 2-star spellbook from the warehouse. No one understood why an old beggar, doomed to never reach 2 stars, would risk his life to do something like that. In the 4th year after the old beggar's death, Derek met his second magic mentor. Kadia was the lady of the fallen Flameheart family and also a 3-star mage who worked as a mercenary. At first, she only gave Derek some casual guidance, as he was so young and yet had joined a mercenary company and could use 1-star magic. Kadia taught Derek a lot besides magic, also how to survive in this world. And what really changed Kadia's attitude was an accident. That day, Derek revealed his talent and Kadia didn't hesitate. She took him directly to an empty alley. You also know that nobles are extremely sensitive regarding privileges, and magic is one of the greatest privileges. Great power is considered a blessing, but that only occurs among the nobility. Commoners occasionally reach 3 stars too, but only those who dedicate their whole life to magic can achieve it. And what you just used was a 2-star distortion spell called Auditory Hallucination. From then on, Kadia took Derek everywhere, teaching him all kinds of magic. Also, from time to time, she told him the rules of the noble social circle. Days like those lasted a year, and then Kadia left. The house of Count Elviast invited her to be a private tutor. That count was a border count, whom not even the Grand Duke of the capital dared to offend lightly, so she couldn't refuse. Being a magic teacher for a noble of that level was a rare opportunity for anyone. So Kadia left a 2-star spellbook and disappeared from Derek's life. After learning 2 more 2-star spells on his own, Derek was only 16 years old that year, and he had no intention of stopping there. And it was also that day when Derek received a commission that would change his fate. The extravagantly rich Grand Duke Duplian posted a commission to subdue magical beasts on the outskirts of his territory. But Derek immediately felt something wasn't right. How could a family like the Duplians hire mercenaries to handle magical beasts? Remembering the warnings from the old beggar and Kadia, Derek refused on the spot. But the Duplian family offered too much. Just the advance was a whole gold coin, and the target was even more scandalous. It was just a group of common goblins. Just as Derek had thought, this commission was nothing more than a cover. Its real goal was to find a magic teacher for the young lady of the Duplian house. And the 3 people who appeared before him weren't simple either. The old man was named Darren, the head butler of the Duplian estate. The woman was the head of the estate's maids, named Catalina. And the last one was Ashlyn Aliner Duplian, the eldest daughter of the Duplian family. Although Derek accepted this well-paid commission, he didn't let his guard down because nobles like these had no reason to hire a mercenary as a teacher. At the same time, Derek burst into Grand Duke Duplian's study. "Father, Brother Valerian, look at this." "Reg, what are you doing?" "Haven't I taught you to maintain composure at all times?" "The one who should maintain composure isn't me, it's Dela. She has already started assaulting the estate servants." "Lower your voice. Father is talking with me." "Just last month, more than 10 servants couldn't take it anymore and quit, and she breaks furniture at the slightest provocation. How much longer are you going to keep indulging that troublemaker?" Upon hearing Reg speak of his own sister like that, Valerian finally couldn't contain himself. "Enough, leave first. I still need to talk with Father." Dela is a disaster who only causes trouble. That's indisputable. And don't we still have Ashlyn? I think we should more or less give up on Dela. Listen carefully. This is not for you to judge. I already asked the butler to inquire at the monastery. The conditions there are very good, and there are quite a few children of nobles there too. Rather than letting her drag the family down, we'd better submit to God's will. If someone like that is left unsupervised, sooner or later, she will become a calamity for our Duplian house. But before Reg could finish speaking, Grand Duke Duplian grabbed his head and slammed it brutally against the desk. I've already said it once. This kind of matter is not to be judged by you. When the time comes to make a decision, you must be resolute. On the other hand, Ashlyn had already taken Derek to the ducal residence. Have you heard of my sister Dela? I've only seen Lady Dela on the Duplian family tree. Oh, really? Then it seems she isn't relevant in the eyes of outsiders. And at that moment, the two ran into Valerian and Reg coming out of the Duke's room. Long time no see, Ashlyn. Have you been well in Elbiast? Thank you for your concern, brother. I've been very well there. I'm glad. As you can see, Reg has suffered a minor injury, so let's catch up another time. Just from their expressions, it was evident a quarrel had just occurred in the ducal residence, and upon seeing the maid behind them covering her face and crying, Derek immediately got a rough idea of what had happened. After that, the two entered Grand Duke Duplian's study, and as usual, Ashlyn first exchanged some words of courtesy with her father. This is the magic teacher I brought from Elbiast. He is willing to teach Dela, but from the Grand Duke's expression, it was evident he wasn't taking this matter seriously. Father, you must be very busy, so I'll take my leave first. But before she left, the Grand Duke had Derek stay alone. You seem very young, 16 this year? Yes. Relying on the etiquette Katia had taught him, Derek didn't lose his composure. What level of magic are you capable of? I only know a little one-star magic. Stop lying. Excessive humility is not a virtue. Only then did Derek understand. Facing Grand Duke Duplian, a 5-star mage, humility wouldn't work. Pardon my discourtesy, it's fine. I know why you did it, but for your age and clothes, you don't look like a qualified mage. Derek knew he couldn't hide it. I'm a mercenary. Since you're the teacher Ashlyn chose, I won't say more. You may enter Dela's villa. A maid will guide you. You may retire. May I ask something? Ask. Only after receiving the Grand Duke's assent did Derek continue. You know I'm a mercenary and I fulfill my commissions. Ashlyn asked me to teach magic to Dela and introduce her to nobility. Your doubts are about these evident facts. To fulfill it better, I asked the Grand Duke for a certain authority. The moment he heard that, Grand Duke Duplian's expression finally changed. On the other hand, Dela furiously threw a plate at the maid standing beside her. I'm so very sorry, Lady Dela. What good is an apology from someone like you to me? Get out of my sight immediately. Next time I see you, I'll smash it right in that ugly face of yours. At the same time, the head of the mercenary guild was also perplexed. Why let a commoner become a noble's magic teacher? I've searched the entire continent for recognized magic tutors, but they all gave up. I truly had no other choice, so I made this decision. Although Mr. Derek comes from the mercenaries, he understands noble behavior and culture. His mentor was a fallen noble, so he probably learned all that from that person. Understood. Although Mr. Derek is a mercenary, he has an uncommon air and is very kind. I think perhaps he really can guide Dela well. Lady Ashlyn, your judgment of people still isn't accurate enough. That Derek is a mage who grew up in the slums. He started working as a mercenary before he even knew what he was doing. People who come from the slums, how could they grow based on nobility and kindness? Guided by Darren, Derek arrived at the villa where Dela lived. He knocked several times and no one answered, so Derek pushed open the door to Dela's room and entered directly. Hello, I'm Derek. Sorry to disturb you. But Dela didn't respond. She just kept gesturing for him to come closer. Moment Derek approached, the corner of Dela's mouth curved into a self-satisfied smile. The next second, she emptied a huge bucket of garbage on the floor onto Derek. What should we do? I thought a rat had entered. So this is the mercenary the butler spoke of. Looking at you, well, you really do look like a rat. I prepared this especially for you. Does it remind you of your hometown? The sewer smell really suits you well. But what a pity. My carefully prepared gift ended up spilled all over the floor. Upon hearing these insults, Derek just stared at Dela without saying a single word. Instead, it was that gaze that made Dela feel inexplicably uncomfortable. Dela didn't hesitate. She kicked Derek and knocked him to the ground. Don't look at me like that. She kicked so hard that even the shoe on that foot flew off. Know your place, stinky rat. Do you think you can teach me anything? Haven't those commoners taught you the most basic things? Due to the conversation from a moment ago, Grand Duke Duplian fell into deep thought, because this Derek, who came from the mercenaries, had surprised him too much. The fact that I can sit here means that Lady Dela's problem isn't so simple, so I want to ask the Grand Duke a question. Who truly cares for Lady Dela? When I teach Lady Dela, how much authority can you give me? The scene returned to Derek's side. He raised his hand and gave Dela a strong, resounding slap. Without a doubt, Dela would never have imagined that someone would dare to treat her like that. She looked at Derek in disbelief, her eyes trembling. The burning on her face confirmed to her that she had really been hit. Only then did Derek speak. Get up. In fact, 3 years ago, Derek had asked Katie a question. Teacher, if you encounter a student who is arrogant and ungrateful, what would you do? First, I would do everything possible to understand her and be as tolerant as possible. Isn't that too idealistic? And if understanding and tolerance don't work, the essence of teaching is to guide the student onto a better path. If understanding and tolerance fail to create communication, then you must use another method. And what is that other method? Plant fear in her mind. Back to the present, Dela still couldn't believe it. She had actually been hit by a mercenary. Treat others with care and respect. There are things I don't want to say twice. Get up. But the instant Dela stood up, the first thing she did was slap Derek in the face. What do you think you are? You a mercenary, with what right do you? Before she could finish, Derek's slap arrived first. The same words, I won't say it a second time either. Treat others with care and respect. The bolder Derek became, the more Dela fumed to the point of laughing. Butler, what are all of you doing? This miserable bastard dares to hit me. Upon hearing the scream, Darren immediately ran in. Lady Dela, are you all right? How could he lay a hand on the young lady? If the Grand Duke finds out. Before Darren could finish, Derek pulled a document from his chest. Grand Duke Duplian has already decided. Everything that occurs during Dela's education is entirely my responsibility. So no matter what method I use, it has the Grand Duke's tacit approval. Upon seeing the Grand Duke's name on the document, Darren was left speechless for a moment. And in that instant, Dela also understood. This teacher before her wouldn't be so easy to handle. It wasn't long before the news that Derek had laid hands on Dela reached Valerian. Brother, calm down first. So you're that mercenary, said Valerian as he opened the door to Derek's room. Facing the aggressive Valerian, Derek neither explained nor retreated. You really dared to lay hands on Dela. Brother, calm down. At that moment, Derek spoke. I already have Grand Duke Duplian's permission. He is a guest Ashlyn brought back. What do you expect Ashlyn to do if you act like this? And father allowed you to do it too. You come with me now. And Reg, stop getting in my way. Go do what you should be doing. I've heard about it too. Dela really needs a beating before she learns how to behave. Don't worry, big brother won't hurt you. That girl has been hopeless for a long time. Don't expect you can straighten her out. Not long after, Valerian took Derek to Dela's room in the main residence. This was the room she used when she still lived in the main residence, and now it was like this, empty. Derek noticed that besides the cloth dolls that girls like, there were also many paintings. Dela really likes to draw. Every time she blushed and pulled me to see her drawings, she was so adorable you couldn't look away. But most of her drawings were unfinished. She often stopped drawing as soon as she finished the part she liked most. I'm so sorry. A moment ago I was too upset. I apologize to you again. I didn't take it to heart. You don't need to worry. But I'm a little curious. Why did you bring me to this room? I want you to see Dela shouldn't have been the kind of girl who tramples on others so lightly. But I don't know since when she suddenly became obsessed with lineage. In the end, she was expelled from the main residence and locked in the villa. I have no idea what exactly turned her into this. At the very least, Dela cannot be sent to a monastery. As long as she learns a 1-star spell, I can find a way to convince father. So I beg you, please save Dela. Seeing Valerian, who bowed his head and practically pleaded with him, Derek just raised his hand to indicate it wasn't necessary. It seems she hasn't completely given up on magic. This book has many notes she wrote. The books here should all be theoretical books from the School of Order, right? Yes. What we nobles learn all comes from the School of Order. Contemplating these paintings, a conjecture arose in Derek's mind. I'll do my best to try. As he spoke, Derek returned the book to Valerian. That night, Dela was still fast asleep in her room. A bucket of cold water was poured directly over her head, and the one there was Derek. Can you still sleep now? What are you talking about? Are you crazy? Get up, come with me. Are you crazy? Where are you taking me in the middle of the night? No matter how much Dela resisted on the way, no one dared to stop Derek. Derek dragged Dela like this, pulling her out of the villa. After making sure no one was nearby, Derek threw Dela to the ground. Do you think this can change anything? Keep dreaming. Who do you think you are? As if you could teach me anything. Since there's no one here, do you want to hear an interesting truth? Actually, from the beginning, I never planned to teach you magic. I simply like tormenting nobles like you who think they're above everyone else. Seeing the expression on Derek's face, Dela was truly scared. Don't you think so? Why would the commoners below like nobles? Teacher is just a nice-sounding title. I never wanted to be any kind of magic teacher. I just used an identity to torment nobles like you justifiably. You know, the screams of nobles really sound wonderful. Do you think you can do something like this and still get away with it? Of course I can. Anyway, you're about to be sent to a monastery. Who do you think will believe you? Even if something really happens, the worst that can happen is I die. Trading a commoner's life for a noble's is a good deal, no doubt. If I run away, maybe nothing will happen. Anyway, I would be helping the Duplians against a threat. In that instant, Dela realized that if Derek caught her, she really might die here. And even if she ran back to the villa, Derek would probably drag her outside again. So Dela decided to lose him in the forest she knew well. As long as she could escape through the forest back to the Grand Duke's estate, then the one who would die would definitely be Derek. But just at that moment, Dela felt a light shine behind her. Only then did she see clearly that Derek had actually used the 2-star spell, Fireball. That meant this 16-year-old mercenary was at least a 2-star mage. The fireball exploded in front of Dela, and she collapsed to the ground from fright on the spot. At that moment, Dela felt clearly for the first time that death was very close. Sorry, I actually missed a moment ago. After Dela got up in a hurry, she immediately ran off deep into the forest. But as she ran, she kept looking back to watch Derek's movements, slipped, and fell hard to the ground. When she managed to get up again, Derek's magical attacks were already reaching her, and those attacks were getting closer and closer as if cornering her. You're quite fast. Nothing like someone who's been locked in a villa from morning to night. Taking advantage of the moment Derek spoke, Dela seized the opportunity to keep fleeing. She knew very well that fleeing like this wasn't a solution. If she continued like this, sooner or later she would be caught. When Dela looked back, she realized that Derek's attention seemed completely focused on his magic. When Derek looked up again, Dela's figure had already disappeared among the trees. But this forest was exactly the same as the one Derek had seen in the paintings. He guessed that Dela had played here since she was little, and that the things in her paintings were actually the magical power she had seen. After Derek used magic to perceive the surroundings, he was even more certain his previous conjecture wasn't wrong. But just at that moment, Dela came running out from the grass with a stone in her hand. Unfortunately, Derek indifferently swung his sword and cut her last hope. Your bravery is praiseworthy. Even knowing it's hard to escape pursuit, you still dared to attack first. Being able to make that decision isn't easy. After being tormented both physically and mentally, Dela no longer had the strength to run. It seems you can't flee anymore. Now is there anything you still want to say? Derek approached step by step. Do you think I'm going to beg for forgiveness? Just kill me. I won't bow my head like those despicable commoners. Why are you so obsessed with bloodline? Dela's body trembled violently. What else do I have besides that? Apart from this so-called noble blood, do I have anything else? Magic. Magic, everyone forces me to talk about magic. Do you think I haven't tried? But I can't do it. No matter how hard I try, it doesn't work. Whether it's magic or drawing, I can't surpass others. What do I have besides blood? If even that disappears, what am I supposed to be? I understand. Then go on your way in peace. After Derek said that, he raised his sword. This time, Dela didn't dodge. She stared directly into Derek's eyes. But the next second, Derek's sword was forcefully blocked by a wall of ice. Dela couldn't believe what she was seeing. The one who had created the ice wall was none other. It was herself, the one who had never been able to learn magic. Dela couldn't understand it. In those circumstances, she had actually used magic. You've worked hard, my lady. I hope you can forgive my rudeness. This still doesn't count as real magic. It can only be said that your magical power has been triggered, but you've already done very well. The emotions she had repressed for many years finally overflowed at that moment. After verification, you should belong to the Wild School. What is the Wild School? I've heard most nobles study at the School of Order. But the essence of all schools is the same. Only the paths of understanding and learning are different. Lady Dela belongs to the Wild School. So when you learn magic through the School of Orders theory, you encounter obstacles everywhere. But how do you know I belong to the Wild School? I saw your paintings. You perceived the magic in nature and then put it on the canvas. Many people with potential for the Wild School can feel nature's magic when they are young. Very well, you may return now. At this level, you've already done very well, but awakening is just the beginning. The road is still long. Starting tomorrow, I'll teach you how to activate magical power. At that moment, Dela called to Derek. Hey, anyway, thank you. That sunset painting was your most proud work, right? Which one? It was finished very well. That really is the work I'm most proud of. You're the first person to realize it was a finished piece. The next morning, Dela began trying to activate her magic, but no matter how hard she tried, she made no progress. On her way to find Derek, she accidentally scared a passing maid. Of all things, the maid's hand trembled and the water spilled directly onto Dela's skirt. In that instant, the maid almost fainted from fright. I'm so very sorry, Lady Dela. After all, given Dela's past behavior, something like this would almost certainly mean a round of torment. "I'm sorry, I've committed a grave offense. Please, I beg you, let me go this time." But what the maid found even harder to believe was that Dela didn't explode at all, only said to her indifferently, "Be more careful." The maid stood there, stunned. Dela actually said it so lightly, then turned and left. "Are you all right? She didn't hit you, did she?" "I'm fine. It seems something really happened to her when she went out last night." On the other hand, Derek, who had been busy all night, was still asleep. But the next second, Dela's knocks and her voice broke in at the same time. "What do you want, coming so early? Young lady, please observe proper etiquette. If you act like this, it puts people in a difficult position. Teach me how to control the magic I've triggered. I tried myself a moment ago, but I still can't." Upon hearing that, Darren froze in place. He couldn't believe that Derek had made Dela trigger her magic in just one day. "Didn't you say you'd teach me today? Hurry up and tell me. Come back in the afternoon." After Derek said that, he closed the door directly. Darren was still happy for Dela, but Dela's expression had already clearly changed. "Who do you think you are? What right do you have to give me orders? Open the door, tell me right now." But Derek didn't respond. He turned around and went back to sleep immediately. "Have you heard? Lady Dela didn't break a single plate today. This morning I accidentally spilled water on her skirt and she didn't hit me. And I heard Lady Dela managed to awaken her magic. Is it true? Didn't the teacher only arrive yesterday?" Upon hearing that, Derek stiffened completely. "What did you just say?" Soon after, Valerian told the Grand Duke and Derek. "Dela awakened her magic." "Yes, father, I confirmed it many times with the butler and the servants." Grand Duke duply and uncharacteristically stopped his pen. "That's wonderful, but it's only an awakening. Father, don't draw conclusions so soon. Reg, even if you're not going to congratulate your sister on awakening her magic, do you still say something like that? Have you forgotten what she used to do? Canceling the plan to send her to the monastery just for this small achievement is too hasty." While the two brothers argued about Dela, the Grand Duke simply remained silent, took his pen, and continued reviewing documents. Soon it was afternoon. When Derek arrived at Dela's room, she was sitting alone on the edge of the bed. "Are you throwing a tantrum?" "I'm not throwing a tantrum, I'm angry. Even if you throw a tantrum, it won't do any good." "I said I'm angry. Whether you're angry or throwing a tantrum, that doesn't change the order. Things have priorities." Dela finally couldn't take it anymore. "I told you I'm not throwing a tantrum, I'm angry." But when she turned her head, she met Derek's bloodshot eyes head-on. She immediately looked away. "Fine, consider it as if I'm throwing a tantrum. You awakened your magic and then started messing around. You'll exhaust yourself soon. That's experience. Study needs a balance between work and rest. Since you've rested enough, then we begin." "What a boring magic teacher. Do you want me to teach you in a way that isn't boring?" In that instant, Dela remembered the process of how she awakened her magic. The method was really novel, but the process was frankly deadly. Thinking of that, Dela straightened up immediately. "Better not. Today we'll learn how to trigger magic. Once you can trigger it stably, you'll soon be able to learn one-star magic. The Wild School doesn't have a complete learning system, so it's more suitable for self-study. It also seeks freedom more than the School of Order. To be honest, my lady, you are very suitable for the Wild School." "What does that mean?" "Literally, your personality is free-spirited enough. You fit well in the Wild School, and with Duplian blood, your talent is extraordinary." Hearing that, Dela seemed to light up. "You mean I'm very talented?" "Yes, lifting an ice wall at the very moment you awaken, that's talent. So I'm a genius. Having talent and being a genius are not the same." "They're not the same?" "No. Fine, whatever you say." While the two practiced how to activate magic, neither noticed Reg standing outside the window. From his expression, it was obvious he was extremely displeased by the fact that Dela had awakened her magic. During the following days, Dela went to find Derek almost every day. "Derek, now I can activate my magic, but I still can't control the direction." "Derek, look, cold air is starting to come from my hand, but I always feel something isn't right." "Derek, listen to me. I feel the magic, but this feeling is really strange." "Derek, they've been looking for you all day. Why are you here? Didn't I tell you to stay near the villa? Do you think Father lent you the spellbook so you could relax?" Yes, the Grand Duke agreed back then that I could browse the spellbooks here as I wished. "What exactly do you want?" "I already managed to circulate my magic like you told me last time. Hurry up and help me take a look." That night, Valerian was standing in his own room with a grave expression. "I heard you were looking for me. You're already here. Sit down and let's talk. How has my sister Dela been lately?" "She has improved a lot, but it will still take her time to learn one-star magic." "I see. Probably next week Mother will return from the social gathering. I must warn you in advance, she isn't easy to fool. The people on the estate are still quite kind to you now, but most nobles don't like commoners holding important positions. You understand, Derek? I'll be careful." "Is that why you called me here?" "I am the next head of the Duplian house." The duty of the head is to care for and attend to every family member, so I must treat them with sincerity. This work is difficult. People's hearts are too deep. It would be good if everyone shared the same values, but reality isn't like that. So what is it you really want to say? Dayla, my most adorable little sister, no longer wants to play with me. Hearing that, Derek didn't know how to respond for a moment. You know, Derek, I still remember clearly how she used to run to greet me with a smile when we were little. Is there anyone in this world more like an angel than her? So, Derek, do you have any way to make Dayla happy? Why are you asking me that? Isn't Dayla the one who listens to you the most? Just as Valerian said, at that very moment Dayla was looking for Derek all over the estate. What do you think if you help me look at this? I learned to make dolls with the maids. Well, doesn't it look exactly like the adorable Dayla? Will she feel her brother's love? Pardon my rudeness, Lord Valerian. Are you trying to curse her with this? Derek, you really are completely useless. A week later, the Duchess returned. I've heard many things about you. They say you hired a very capable magic teacher. Pleased to meet you. I am Miriella de Belduplian. If you don't mind, I would like to send some gifts to the territory you belong to. I don't belong to any family. The moment those words left his mouth, Miriella froze. I don't belong to any territory or family. I'm just a commoner. Miriella could hardly believe it. The capable magic teacher everyone talked so much about was actually a commoner. As soon as she heard the news, Miriella burst into the Grand Duke's study. Did you really allow a commoner to be Dayla's teacher? What in the world is going on? My hearing is very good. Can't you lower your voice? The problem now isn't that. It's Dayla, our adorable youngest daughter. Miriella, you also know I don't like hiring commoners, but those noble-blooded teachers have already given up. Even so, you can't let a mercenary who's been fighting in the streets teach her. Finding a magic teacher is already difficult in itself, and Derek was recommended by Ashlyn. Even if Ashlyn recommended him, there should be a minimum standard. Why not invite your younger brother? Last time he postponed saying he was busy, but now it's different. Dayla has already awakened her magic. You want a defense force that protects the outer regions to be a private tutor. Do you think managing and leading a territory is something simple? Then what about the social circles of Elbiast? Do you think the social world is simple? It's also a battlefield. In high society, a teacher is the most important calling card, and yet you hired a commoner with no reputation or family. Do you want Dayla to become a laughingstock the moment she enters society? At that moment, Valerian also entered. Mother, calm down first. You didn't return just to argue with father, did you? Step back, Valerian. This cannot stand. The key issue is whether that commoner mage is qualified to be Dayla's teacher, isn't it? The instant he saw Reg, a glimmer of relief shone in Miriella's eyes. For a commoner to become a noble's magic teacher is no small matter. If he truly has the qualifications, it's not unacceptable. Father, I am willing to test Derek's ability. If I beat him in a magic duel, forget it. From a mage's perspective, he really is very strong. Hearing that, Reg fell silent. Then let me test Dayla. Only then did Valerian realize that Reg seemed to be targeting his own sister. If Derek really is an excellent teacher, then as his student, Dayla should also show results. I'm willing to have a magic duel with Dayla to confirm if he is qualified to be a teacher. The Grand Duke hesitated for a moment, but in the end accepted Reg's proposal. After the two left the study, Valerian immediately caught up with Reg, who was walking ahead. What exactly are you trying to do? Why do you insist on facing Dayla in a duel? Brother, do you really believe Dayla has changed? Have you forgotten what she used to do? But no matter what, she's still your only sister. We must accommodate blood ties. The blood relative you speak of will ruin the family. Haven't the things she did before been proof enough? If you let her into high society, then everything really will be over. Do you really think that, Reg? The one who crossed the line first was Dayla. She deserves to be locked in the villa forever. With a brother and a sister like that, Valerian also didn't know how to handle the situation for a moment. As soon as Dayla heard the news, she went to find Derek. So early in the morning and in such a hurry, what's happened this time? Dayla didn't respond. She simply threw a document in front of Derek. If I lose this duel, you'll be fired. I've already heard. Young Master Reg is a fully formed one-star mage. This duel will be very difficult. Is that all you have to say? If I lose, you'll be fired. I'm a mercenary. I finished the mission and received payment. That's enough. And so far, the payment I've received is already more than enough. Dayla froze. Are you serious? A week passed in the blink of an eye. And soon the day of the duel between Dayla and Reg arrived. Apart from Ashlyn, who wasn't at the estate, almost the entire Duplian family was present. After seeing the Grand Duke, Derek bowed as usual. From the way Derek looked, it was obvious he wasn't nervous at all. The Grand Duke couldn't help but suppose he was confident. From the Grand Duke's point of view, that Derek maintained composure on an occasion like this meant that firing him too soon might not be the best option. But no one knew that, in Reg's heart, this had never been a simple duel. He wanted to take this opportunity to completely destroy Dela. Reg swore to himself that he would make Dela pay for everything she had done in the past and regret it to the end. Dela, attending a practice match for the first time, had an unusually resolute gaze. Time rewound to that afternoon when she spoke with Derek. So, apart from that, you don't care about anything at all. My lady, you should also be able to feel it. The growth of your magic has already taken the right path, although you still can't use one-star magic immediately. After a little more time, you'll be able to. After all, Duplian blood runs in your veins. Why are you saying all this suddenly? I said it before. The wild school is originally the school most suitable for self-study. Hearing this, Dela became so anxious her eyes reddened. So what? Why exactly are you saying all this? Derek, I also know I'm not a good student, but I still want to keep learning magic with you. I don't want anyone else to teach me. Let's clarify things first. I don't understand the etiquette or the rules of noble magic duels, and I've never been through one, but I can tell you how to win in a fight. Do you want to win? In that instant, Dela remembered things she had once heard. How could the Duplian family produce someone like that? Her brother and sister are so strong. It seems Duplian is also going to decline. Remembering those voices, Dela's gaze gradually hardened. I want to win, I have to win. Today, Dela wasn't here as Reg's younger sister. She was standing on this martial platform as Derek's student, as a mage. Reg watched Dela as she stepped onto the stage, and an indescribable dissonance arose in his heart. Did she really come with the determination to win? The moment their gazes crossed, Darren's voice sounded from the side. Please, both sides prepare for the duel. This duel will use the advanced combat rules of the Califram Salon. The first side to activate General Pelham's protective formation will be considered the loser. Once again, please both sides prepare. The duel begins. General Pelham's protective formation would activate automatically before the bearer suffered a strong blow and would cause the opponent's magic to fail. I thought I'd see how nobles fight, and it turns out they use such expensive jewels as practice accessories, too much money and nowhere to spend it. That thing only lasts 10 minutes. It's clear Reg plans to finish it before that time. Reg wouldn't accept a draw, so he took this duel exceptionally seriously. The instant it began, he gathered magic and started reciting a spell. But while Reg prepared his spell, Dela remained standing in her place, watching him coldly. One of the keys in magic duels is recitation speed. At long range, whoever finishes reciting first usually has the advantage, and against an opponent like Dela, a single one-star spell would be enough. Sorry, but you have to return to that villa. The moment he finished recitation, the one-star spell Wind Blade tore through the air and flew directly at Dela. From Reg's point of view, the slow Dela had no chance of dodging it. He could already imagine it. Protective formation activated. Dela publicly declared defeated and sent back to the villa. But what Reg didn't see was that Dela, whom he considered a disgrace to the family, never averted her gaze or hesitated from beginning to end. The next second, Dela lowered her body and lunged to the side, showing an agility she had almost never demonstrated before. The change Dela showed was clearly far above Reg's expectations. Don't think you can escape. Reg gritted his teeth and channeled his magic, forcing the wind blade to twist its trajectory. The wind blade chased Dela again. According to Reg's understanding, a girl who had been locked in a villa for years couldn't maintain her stamina for long. But if at that moment he could clearly see Dela's expression, he would immediately change that judgment. Worse yet, although Reg could cast one-star spells skillfully, in essence he was still a novice in real combat. Forcing a trajectory change would only make his magic consumption skyrocket. Just when Reg thought Dela would be hit without a doubt, an ice wall that rose from the ground blocked the wind blade head-on. Logically, this kind of basic ice wall formed only with pure magic shouldn't be able to block a one-star spell. But after Reg's forced trajectory change, the wind blade's power had already weakened considerably. Still, Reg didn't believe it. How long could Dela resist with such simple tricks? He planted his feet and began reciting an incantation again. This time he would launch 3 wind blades in a row. His specialty, since Dela liked to run around, was to seal all her escape routes. And Reg didn't believe Dela could keep blocking the next volley with ice walls. Listen well, Lady Dela. A mercenary's way of fighting is different from a noble's. Mercenaries don't pride themselves on fighting cleanly. They only care about one thing, winning. This is completely different from duels between nobles. Even if you win, you might still be insulted, but it can really lead you to victory. Do you still want to learn it? Of course I want to learn. This time I'm definitely going to win. Following the method Derek taught her, Dela began to analyze the situation before her. She immediately mobilized her magic and formed several ice pillars. Then she slid and ran between the cover they created. Reg's strength was far superior to Dela's. But she clung firmly to the only teaching Derek had given her. Even among mercenaries, there are differences in strength. But people still win because what they're fighting isn't a duel, it's a battle. Everything happened just as Derek had foreseen. Reg was just a combat novice. He kept forcing trajectory changes, and his magic was rapidly depleting. The speed and power of the wind blade drastically decreased because of that, and that's how Dela could narrowly dodge them again and again. Derek had said that in a battle you have to shape the battlefield and seize every advantage. In other words, to win you can't stop at anything. Likewise, making your opponent underestimate you and relax is also a weakness you can exploit. When she confirmed she couldn't dodge, Dela raised an ice wall again and took the wind blade head-on. But she had only recently awakened, and this level of confrontation was already starting to overload her. And just at that moment, Reg's voice sounded again. "It's over." Hearing that, Dela sharply turned her head. It turned out the last wind blade from Reg had slipped past the blind spot of the ice wall and cut from behind. The instant it impacted, the martial platform was completely swallowed by dust and smoke, and from outside nothing could be seen clearly, but Derek wasn't the least bit perplexed. He believed Dela wouldn't fall so easily. However, Miriella in the stands lost control instantly. "What are you still standing there for? Stop the duel immediately, bring Dela back." At that moment the Grand Duke spoke. "Go back and sit properly, the duel is not over yet." "What are you talking about? You saw it too. Dela was hit by magic." "She wasn't hit. General Pelham's protective formation didn't activate." In fact, besides the situation on the martial platform, the Grand Duke had also been observing one person the whole time, Derek sitting to the side watching the fight. From beginning to end, he didn't even blink once, as if everything was within his expectations. With no end in sight, Reg also entered the dust and smoke. In theory, Dela should have been hit by the wind blade, but the protective formation didn't activate. So where is she? Just at that moment, through a gap under the martial platform, Reg saw a familiar figure, but before he could react, the wooden planks under his feet creaked. The next instant, an ice pillar suddenly emerged from under the platform, and the ambush startled Reg. Luckily, he reacted fast enough. Only his cloak was pierced by the ice pillar. Reg couldn't accept it. Dela had actually hidden under the martial platform and launched an attack at him. According to Darren's earlier explanation, leaving the bounds of the martial platform would be considered an immediate defeat. But from Darren's expression, it was clear that what Dela was doing at that moment didn't violate the rules. However, in the ancient noble spas, such a crude fighting style had never appeared. Reg was still in shock when the planks under his feet creaked again. Though disheveled, he still managed to dodge the second ice pillar that suddenly rose, but that was far from over. Almost at the same time, 3 other ice pillars violently rose beside Reg. Without a doubt, each ice pillar rising from below was fixing Reg's position. These attacks were invisible and hard to predict, and if they hit him even once, he would lose on the spot. In Dela, there was no longer any trace of the nobility of a friendly match. And just at that moment, Reg finally located Dela hidden under the platform. It wasn't until that second that he could clearly see Dela's eyes. In those pupils, there was no emotional fluctuation. Those weren't the eyes Dela should have, and yet Reg felt he had seen them before. He quickly remembered they were the eyes of that mercenary, the same ones that showed not a hint of emotion, not even when Valerian grabbed him by the neck. Only now did Reg realize that Dela's tactics, without a doubt, carried the shadow of that magic teacher. Now that the truth was clear, Reg no longer maintained noble decorum either. Without hesitation, he tore the cloak off his back. Since Dela had already abandoned etiquette and fought only for victory, he too had to adopt the same stance. Because of Dela, Reg also, for the first time, willingly set aside his usual noble manners. "What is this supposed to be? How can you crawl under the combat platform? It's all dusty down there." "Darling, what are you doing? Hurry up and stop them." Dela didn't break the rules. Watch the duel to the end first. When he was young, Grand Duke Duplian used to go to war, so there wasn't the slightest astonishment on his face. He simply rested his chin and looked calmly down at the combat platform. Meanwhile, Dela, hidden under the combat platform, wasn't fighting randomly. She was observing the changes on the platform. More precisely, she was observing the flow of magical power. As long as Reg began to recite a spell, the flow of magic would betray his position. That way, Reg would have to interrupt his chanting to dodge, or he could only change his offensive spells to defensive magic. In this tense confrontation, Reg quickly understood Dela's intention. She planned to exhaust all his magic, but just at that moment, Reg found a way to break the stalemate. At the same time, Dela also noticed that the flow of magic in the field suddenly disappeared. She realized Reg might be preparing something, but no matter what he wanted to do, as long as Dela kept interrupting his chanting, it would be enough. Seeing Reg's change, even Darren couldn't help but freeze, because at that moment, Reg had actually climbed the flagpole bearing the Duplian family crest. From that height, Dela couldn't perceive his chanting at all. But in the same way, it was also difficult for Reg to complete an incantation steadily up there. So he only had one option left, to shatter the martial platform into pieces, leaving Dela with nowhere to hide. Reg did not hesitate. He raised his hand and fired a magic arrow directly at the base of the flagpole. When the impact hit, the poles supporting the family crest toppled with a thunderous crash. Seizing the momentum, Reg leaped and landed on the fallen pole. His goal was simple. While the flagpole shattered the platform, it would also send him down beneath it. Seeing this, even Miriella was stunned. She hadn't expected her son, her pride and joy, to go this far. But at that moment, Reg did not care in the slightest about the gaze of others. The instant he dropped beneath the platform, he began frantically searching for Dela. Very quickly, amidst the dust and smoke, he located a moving figure. Reg did not hesitate. He immediately fired another magic arrow. The moment the magic arrow approached, Dela also perceived the magic fluctuations around her. She immediately mobilized her magic, trying to form an ice pillar to counter, but soon discovered she didn't have enough magic left. She could no longer cast spells, so she just ran while forcibly recovering magic as she fled. Luckily, the dust was too thick, and Reg's magic arrow veered off slightly. But what surprised Reg was that Dela was actually, on purpose, getting closer. After all, if just one magic arrow hit, Reg would win the duel. However, Reg did not expect Dela to abandon magic entirely and deliver a direct kick to his chest. Once again, Reg saw murderous intent in that girl's eyes. It was the cruelty he had seen countless times in her childhood, doing whatever was necessary to achieve the goal. That kick hit him squarely in the chest, and Reg's breath halted on the spot, but there was something even harsher to come. Dela actually grabbed a handful of dirt and threw it directly into his eyes. Although Reg understood her intention immediately, he was still caught off guard by the opening she created. Dela seized the opportunity and, using the flagpole, climbed back up to the platform above. But the way Dela climbed also confirmed for Reg that her magic was already exhausted. From the way she looked at him, Reg read her determination. "I want to win, even if I have to fight dirty. I want to win. I want to use victory to prove my worth." Dela's actions completely ignited Reg's fighting spirit, but not as her opponent, as her brother. When Reg climbed back onto the platform, Dela was standing far away, silently watching him. She was covered in bloodstains, but her gaze was fierce, as if she wanted to tear someone apart. At that moment, Dela remembered what Derek had taught her that night. "Imagine you are painting. Magic is the paint. You are the brush. Gather the scattered paint and draw a picture. That is magic." Under the night sky, that white-haired boy of mercenary origin had said it like that. The girl contemplated the world with eyes full of starlight, and for the first time felt the impulse to paint it all. The starry sky of that night, the magic flowing in the air, and the white-haired boy beside her. She wanted to paint them all. The instant she closed her eyes, the scene from that night appeared before her again. The girl squeezed the last trace of magic in her body, imagining she was painting with her fingertips on a vast canvas. Unconsciously, the magic in the air began to answer the girl's call. The magic coiled around her fingertips. Amidst gusts of frigid air, Dela's first work was born. Upon opening her eyes, she cast her first spell. An ice spear condensed beside her. Darren visibly startled. "Darling, look, it's one-star magic. Dela used one-star magic. A one-star ice spear? You finally did it, Dela." The moment the ice spear appeared, no one around wanted to forcibly stop this duel. And Reg also swore in his heart to offer his little sister the greatest respect. Reg did not hesitate. In an instant, he formed several magic arrows. Even if Dela had used one-star magic, Reg still did not believe the outcome would change. The moment the ice spear fully formed, Dela immediately propelled it forward, shooting it directly at Reg. Almost at the same time, Reg also fired all the magic arrows around him. The two one-star spells collided head-on at the center of the platform, exploding with a thunderous blast. And dust and smoke enveloped the entire platform once more. At that instant, Miriella had nothing in her heart but concern for her younger daughter. The dust and smoke gradually dispersed, and defensive magic lit up on the platform, the signal that the duel had ended. Both Dela and Reg had pushed themselves to the limit in this duel. This duel, which would decide whether Derek stayed or left, would also reveal its answer once the dust cleared. And the one who deployed the defensive magic was, in fact, Dela's side. She gave her all and used every means, but in the end, she still lost. In her first attempt to cast a one-star spell because she was exhausted and out of magic, her ice spear ultimately failed to reach Reg. Seeing this, Derek said nothing. He simply lowered his head silently. A moment later, the blow of defeat crushed Dela and her tears fell like broken threads. Throughout the entire duel, both Dela and Reg, their performance greatly satisfied Grand Duke Duplian. "Darling, look what this has become, fighting without any decorum. Does this deserve to be called a magic duel?" Grand Duke Duplian did not respond. He simply gazed silently at Dela in the center of the platform. "I cannot bear it any longer. That so-called magic teacher actually taught Dela this kind of thing. As expected, commoners should never have been allowed near our adorable younger daughter." Raymond Oswald Duplian remembered he had been riding across battlefields since his childhood. On the path to becoming Grand Duke, Raymond had seen too many people, and almost all those nobles shared one common trait. Their eyes shone, but not everyone could be like that. Those who had been shattered time and again by failures and hardships since childhood ended up with vacant stares. He remembered that girl. After countless failures, she locked herself in the villa and just stared at the wall with empty eyes. Grand Duke Duplian could not find a real way to help his daughter, so he could only indulge Dela as much as possible. He hoped time would ease the pain in her heart and that someday those eyes would shine again. He had always believed and always hoped that Dela would find her own path, a lost child. That was all parents could do. However, in this match, one which everyone had predicted she would fail, she fought dirty just to win. And after losing, she cried inconsolably as if rain were falling. But in those eyes burned a fire of competitiveness and a yearning to be recognized. "Miss Dela, are you all right? You must receive treatment as soon as possible." The girl did not respond. She only raised her hand and swatted away the maid's extended hand. With difficulty, she supported herself and, completely disheveled, walked step by step toward Reg. In her swollen, reddened eyes, resignation still persisted. Reg lowered his head to look at the disheveled Dela and for a moment could not speak. What was supposed to be a merely ceremonial noble duel had ended in this state. "You worked hard, Dela." However, the girl did not respond. She only silently lowered her head in acknowledgement. She stepped forward and passed by him, and after she passed, the maids surrounded her again. "I will take you to the inner room. You must receive treatment first." But Dela still did not respond. She just stubbornly kept her head lowered and continued walking without stopping. She stepped down from the combat platform and finally stopped in front of Derek. Derek said nothing. He only looked up at his disciple. Dela also knew a noble should not cry in front of a commoner. But at that moment, all her sorrow and frustration struck her at once and overwhelmed her completely. "I lost. I'm sorry." She had 1,000 words in her heart, but the only ones that came out were those few. Of course, Derek understood that Dela had already made a great effort to get this far. "It's all right. Losing is also all right. Failure is part of life. This is reality. You have to learn to leave behind the victories and defeats before you can become stronger." Derek was normally taciturn, so every word he spoke weighed on Dela like iron. Perhaps the emotional dam she had been forcibly holding back finally broke. The girl choked up, and burning tears fell drop by drop. In the moments the maids hurried to take her to treat her wounds, she sobbed loudly over and over. And it was at that instant that Duchess Miriella descended from the stands. As soon as Miriella descended, she ran the whole way and rushed to Dela's side. "Dela, my precious daughter, how have you ended up like this? You must have suffered so much these days. It's all right now. Everything is over. Go get treated first. Trust mother. I will take care of the rest." Crying, Miriella watched the maids take Dela away. Then she stared fixedly at the nearby white-haired mercenary. Furious, she went straight toward Derek with firm steps. The moment Derek turned his head, what he found was Miriella's face with contained anger. "Damned wretch! Do you even know what you've done? You taught her a one-star spell and now you think you're impressive." Miriella did not hesitate for an instant. She raised her hand and slapped Derek hard across the face. "You conceited fool! How dare you teach our pure, impeccable daughter those vulgar commoner tricks?" When she finished, she raised her hand again and slapped him once more. "There are worlds you commoners will never understand. Observing etiquette, maintaining decorum, demonstrating strength through duels, and protecting values with authority. Darling, you saw it too, didn't you? This doesn't even count as a magic duel. He really taught Dela to do this kind of thing." What happened next made everyone present freeze. Miriella's face abruptly jerked to the side. Only then did she realize she had been slapped. "Do you know who the most frivolous person is in an environment like this? What are you talking about? This guy is just a commoner." "Indeed, he is a commoner not worth mentioning, but he is still our daughter's magic teacher. Since when do parents treat their daughter's teacher this way?" Everyone loves their children in different ways. I hope you can forgive her. Protected in this way by Grand Duke Duplian, even Derek, who was normally calm, went blank for a moment. It's all right. Next, there are some things we need to discuss privately. Come with me to the reception hall. Seeing this, even Miriella stood there dumbfounded. She never would have imagined Grand Duke Duplian would slap her in public for the sake of a commoner. After they arrived at the reception hall, Grand Duke Duplian did not hold back in his evaluation of Derek. You have guided Dela very well. As the master of the estate, I must give you the reward you deserve. That was the highest level a commoner could aspire to. Do you want to become a 3-star mage? Hearing that, Derek froze. The Grand Duke directly offered what Derek desired most. He was calmer than anyone and understood with perfect clarity that to keep Derek at the ducal estate, he had to give him what he truly wanted. As a wandering mercenary, Derek of course understood that when opportunity came, one had to seize it. Yes, I want it. Did you make Dela master 1-star magic? Very good, but in the social circles of Elviast, that alone is not enough. In the Duplian house, there are many who can guide Miss Dela. Since she has mastered magic, she will naturally continue to grow afterward. You are right, but what my daughter needs is not a magic teacher, but a magic mentor. My eyes are not mistaken. Although you are a commoner, you harbor an ambition not even permitted in dreams. In the eyes of those arrogant nobles, that is a tremendous offense. But considering your results, I can pretend I did not see it. Just as the Grand Duke said, Derek's goal had never been limited to 3 stars. He even wanted to reach realms above 4 stars, and the Grand Duke perceived it immediately. That was what made him terrifying. Since you have such aspirations, you also won't stay long in a noble family like this. In fact, I already knew you were prepared to leave Elviast. I understand your ambition and determination, but I still hope you can teach Dela a little longer. So to retain Derek, the Grand Duke allowed him to browse the Duplian house's 3-star spellbooks at his leisure. Soon after, Derek arrived at the underground vault where the spellbooks were stored. Among rows and rows of spellbooks, Derek randomly pulled out a volume. On pages so thin they seemed they would disintegrate at a touch were densely engraved unfamiliar phrases. Without a doubt, this was a genuine 3-star spellbook. Even 2-star spellbooks were for the very wealthy. However, on these shelves, only 3-star books were lined up. The Grand Duke's library, one of the 3 best on the continent, was truly on another level. Just these books were reason enough for Derek to stay here. Only if Perrin, who detested nobles, found out, it would probably be troublesome. A few more days passed and Dela's wounds were practically healed. Now I am a 1-star mage. The fact that you can use 1-star magic does not make you a 1-star mage. How can you say that? Your disciple has reached this level. Shouldn't you be happy? Of course, I am truly happy for you. That said, it seems you have recovered well. When the duel ended, you were crying a lot. I wasn't crying. There was just too much dust and smoke. Ash got in my eyes, and Dad should have told me earlier. I thought you were going to be expelled. Let's begin. You progress quickly and will learn other basic spells soon. Hearing this, her eyes lit up and she drew closer. What did you just say? What do you mean by quickly? I mean your growth pace. Being able to use 1-star magic shortly after awakening is not common. Didn't I say it already? I am someone who keeps my word. So what are we going to learn now? Magic arrow or wind blade? Brother Reg used them and they seemed super powerful, but my ice spear is also strong. If I practice more, maybe I can hit Brother Reg. What we are going to learn is magical manifestation. Weren't we going to learn 1-star magic? Weren't we going to learn 6-star magic? There are many reasons, but the fundamental is the most important. If I really have to explain it, it all comes down to magical power. Then start. Since you say so, we will begin. I thought we were going to learn 1-star magic. How disappointing, Dela complained, but at the same time glanced stealthily at Derek with those big eyes, only to discover Derek was also looking at her. Why are you looking at me like that? Do I have something on my face? No, that you suddenly become disobedient feels a bit strange. Who do you take me for? I have respected your opinion from the beginning, haven't I? The first time we met, you poured dirty water over my head and did it twice. You still remember that? Well, the truth is, it was hard to forget. Today the weather is splendid. Magical manifestation is definitely going to be interesting. I want to start practicing as soon as possible. Seeing how embarrassed the girl was, as if she wanted to run off, Derek could only sigh helplessly. The lesson continued until the afternoon, and Dela was so tired she lay down on the ground. Classes will continue as always, and I heard you will be very busy from now on. When Derek approached, Dela immediately sat up. So you heard it too. Starting next week, I will also have to take general courses. They say it's to prepare me for entering high society. Isn't that a good thing? Since you have mastered one-star magic, you should start receiving real nobility courses. It's not good at all. Basic etiquette, foreign languages, geography, history, botany, piano. Why do I have to learn so many things? How could Sister Ashlyn bear it? That's why they call her the flower of Duplian and the central figure in Elbiast's social world. I just want to focus on learning magic. If you want to learn, then go and learn. Since the Grand Duke hired me, I have a lot of free time. Do you really have that much free time at this point? Is there someone who can still fire you? How could there not be? That my father approves of you doesn't mean my mother will leave you alone. What reason would the Duchess have to fire me? If I keep learning from you, I will stray further and further from noble taste. She fears I will end up becoming someone like a mercenary. Just this duel was already too far from the taste nobles pursue. She will definitely find a reason to fire you. That's nothing, Miss Dela. Silencing the Duchess is easier than you think, as long as you don't give her any reason. In the end, isn't the initiative in Miss Dela's hands? The next morning, Miriella paced back and forth in the ducal residence, full of worry. In her heart, Derek was nothing but an atrocious, unforgivable mercenary. Every day she fantasized that Derek would gradually instill his mercenary way of doing things into Dela. She even imagined a day when Dela entered high society carrying a boar on her shoulder. The moment she imagined Dela becoming another Derek, Miriella's head ached until it felt swollen. She could not allow her adorable Dela to become like that, not even if her husband approved of Derek. While organizing her thoughts, Miriella walked toward the mansion's main door, determined to resolve this no matter what. But the moment the door opened, the daughter she had been thinking about was right in front of her. "Mother!" Miriella immediately opened her arms, ready to receive the Dela who would throw herself into her embrace. Even if others said it wasn't proper, Miriella could never reject her adorable daughter. But the next second she froze. Dela did not run toward her. "Did you sleep well last night, Mother?" Dela did not snuggle into her arms as usual. Instead, she properly lifted her skirt, lowered her head, and curtsied. Miriella could hardly believe everything she was seeing. "Due to my recovery, I have resided for a long time in the annex and regrettably have not been able to come frequently to pay my respects. I wish to speak with you at length, but unfortunately I have a piano lesson at dawn." Miriella unconsciously adopted a noble posture. "I see. The training lessons are scheduled very tightly. Please forgive my discourtesy." As Dela spoke, she bowed slightly in apology. "Dela, hasn't your etiquette course started yet? Didn't they say it starts next week?" "Yes, thank you for your concern, Mother. I am looking forward to it very much." At that moment, Miriella thought she saw Ashlyn's shadow in Dela. The change was so great she even began to stammer. "Go then, don't be late." Just as Dela passed by a maid, the wooden boards the maid was carrying in her arms suddenly fell to the ground. "The boards fell. Be careful not to hurt yourself. Don't strain too much." The maid froze, as if she had just seen the most terrifying vision of her life. "Yes, miss." Beyond Elbiast's northern wall was the noble district, where aristocrats gathered. "Ashlyn is smiling again lately. At the last gathering she seemed so worried. It had me uneasy for a long time." "Is it that obvious? I didn't want to worry you, but most of my problems have already been resolved, so I feel much more at ease." "That's wonderful. I heard Miss Ashlyn often leaves the noble district to help people, and that had me worried." The speaker was Arland, the second daughter of Count Belmold. "Thank you for your concern, Miss Arland. Actually, it's because my sister Dela needed a magic teacher, and I went to find one myself, so I've been quite busy lately." Hearing this, Arland could not help but be surprised. For Ashlyn to have personally gone out to find a teacher, how formidable must that teacher be? "You mean Miss Dela?" This time it was Denise, the second daughter of House Belty, who spoke. "That's right. Not long ago I saw Dela at the estate. Now she is like a completely different person from before. Her bearing is that of a true lady. I even heard she can already cast one-star magic. She was so serene it made me feel ashamed, and I thought I should also strive harder." Denise's curiosity grew even more. Almost no news about Dela had ever spread from the Duplian house, so why was Ashlyn suddenly mentioning her? "Did you find an excellent magic teacher?" "Yes, his status is not flashy, but his teaching ability is outstanding. Last time I personally went to the Veldrin Mercenary Company to hire him, and it was truly worth it." The moment the word mercenary was uttered, both Denise and Arland shuddered deeply inside. Arland suddenly remembered that the current head chef of Belmold was someone Dela had expelled from the Duplian house. It was said that, just because the soup was too hot, they had forced him to leave. That carefree tyrant. Now not only had she changed her temperament, but she had even become a one-star mage. Arland immediately felt great interest in the magic teacher Ashlyn mentioned. Ashlyn, could you tell me the magic teacher's name? If he is Miss Dela's teacher, he will undoubtedly become famous in the future. I want to remember his name in advance. I see. That teacher is named Derek. At the same time, although Derek only knows a little noble etiquette, he still taught me many things. If I relied solely on self-study, it would really be too difficult. So you learned manners on your own. How admirable. Partly it was self-taught, but most of it was taught to me by Derek. Did you have any problems during your self-study process? Almost every step was difficult. Thanks to Derek, I was able to become who I am now. I see. In those few lines, the only thing left in Miriella's mind was the name Derek. She could not accept it. Her precious daughter now couldn't say 3 sentences in a row without mentioning that commoner. Miriella could not understand what Derek had done to Dela, but she was very clear that she could not allow this to continue. She could even imagine what would happen afterward. Miss Dela has been very kind to the servants lately. She has become so approachable. Miss Dela has been in very good spirits lately. Such a big change in just a few weeks. It's incredible. Before, I only saw that kind of aura in Miss Ashlyn. You are becoming quite the lady. Now Miss Dela also behaves like a noble, and it's all thanks to Sir Derek. Miriella swore to herself she would change all this. In the blink of an eye, Derek was studying 3-star magic on his own. But despite his extraordinary talent, this time he ran into a considerable obstacle. Between him and becoming a 3-star mage, it was as if only an invisible door existed. It turned out all these books were a system summarized by the School of Order. And as someone from the Wild School, Derek needed even more to learn through real combat. Then Reg's voice came from behind. "Pardon, am I interrupting your training? It's all right, what brings you here? It's about Dela, I have something to tell you. Is that a 3-star spellbook? Yes, the Grand Duke lent it to me." Hearing it was lent by his father, Reg clearly froze for a moment. "Although for now I can't reach that level, there's nothing wrong with learning it in advance." Reg suddenly remembered how he had wanted to challenge Derek back then, only to be stopped by his father. Immediately, a cold sweat ran down his back. "You really are impressive. So you came this time about something related to the miss. Well, how do I say it? Do you know what girls in their adolescence like?" From Reg's expression, it was obvious he probably wanted to apologize to Dela. "Embroidery or making a doll that looks like her, would she like that?" Derek remembered the doll Valerian had made. "Absolutely not." Derek's face darkened as he immediately rejected it. "I think so too, and it's not like I said I would make it myself." "Thinking about it, that really is too foolish. Should we head back already if you've finished training?" On the way back to the estate, Reg's emotions gradually calmed. "Whatever happens, I truly am grateful to you. Lately, the atmosphere at home has been very good, and Brother Valerian has been focusing on handling territory affairs. Father hasn't said anything, but it's noticeable that he is also satisfied. Really, His Highness the Grand Duke truly is hard to decipher. Everyone at the estate should feel it deeply. I guess I must also accept the things I should accept, right? People change, especially children at that age. I don't know if I never noticed or deliberately avoided it, but since even Dela has changed, I also want to try to change. I owe all this to you, Derek. Really, thank you." Hearing this, Derek only silently lowered his head. "Dela's magic seems a bit different. Did you notice the difference? To me, it gives the impression she is painting." Only then did Derek realize that, in the end, nobles were nobles. When it came to perceiving magic, there was an innate gap between them and simple commoners. "You are right. What Miss Dela is using is an application of Wild School magic." "The Wild School? I've heard a little about it." "Perhaps once she reaches a certain level, even if I no longer teach her, she will be able to research on her own. And if she really reaches that point, a teacher's intervention would actually hold her back." "I see, a certain level. The day will always come when she sees the light." Unnoticed, 2 months had already passed since Dela began to change. "Why are there flowers here? I thought it was blooming beautifully, so I wanted to put it in your hair. That's why I brought it. This flower smells nice too. I feel like in these 2 months, spring never left." Now she can even use 1-star magic with ease, and she has also become much closer to the servants. I missed out on a lot during that period. "It's all thanks to Derek. I wondered why you were so happy today. So today is magic class day. Do I really look that happy? I have to fasten the flower beautifully in your hair. Just give me one of the remaining flowers. I'm going to take it to Derek." But soon after, the flower she intended to give Derek fell heavily to the ground. The hopeful girl was crushed by sudden news. Her eyes were already filled with tears. "What does that mean?" "Derek." Next to Derek was Valerian, who should have been busy with territory affairs. "Just as you heard with the miss in her current state, there is nothing more I can teach you. The seasons change from the beginning. There is no eternal winter, nor will there be an endless spring." Time rewound to a short while earlier. Your Highness, the Grand Duke must have also noticed. Miss Dela belongs to the wild school and has a marked personality. If I keep intervening, on the contrary, I will break her wings. I understand. Right now I also have no reason to keep you at the estate. You are right. After a brief silence, the Grand Duke finally rose from his seat. Thanks to you, many things have changed and my daughter can finally grow. I have been focused on territorial affairs all this time, but I have not fulfilled my responsibility as a father. Now I can finally be at ease. When do you plan to leave? I heard Miss Ashlyn will soon come to the estate and then return to Elbiast. I plan to leave in her carriage at that time. I see. Then return the library key now. I am going to return the spellbook I'm reading to its place, and then I will hand the key to the butler. There's no need for you to take that trouble. Return the key now. Derek immediately understood what the Grand Duke meant, and his gaze settled on the spellbook at his waist. If there is nothing else, you may withdraw. The Grand Duke's meaning was clear. The 3-star spellbook at Derek's waist was a gift for him. Neither of them mentioned it. Understanding without words, Derek bowed to the Grand Duke and turned to leave the study. In the hallway outside the study, Dela had been waiting there the whole time. You appeared suddenly, and now suddenly you say you are leaving. Derek did not know how long Dela had been waiting there. I know perhaps you won't listen, but I still have to say it. Do you really have to leave? Can't you stay? Hearing Dela's urgent plea, Derek fell silent for a moment. I will become a mercenary again as before and also continue training in magic. While Miss Dela continues to improve her strength, when you debut in high society, you will surely also go to Elbiast. When that time comes, we will meet again. Once my level is a bit higher, I will be able to teach you new things. You are so annoying. Dela bit her lip. You always make it so I can't say a single word. That night, Dela had that nightmare again after a long time. Those piercing voices Derek had once suppressed and those malicious smiles came to find her again. Even though she was already a 1-star mage, even though she had already learned how a noble should behave, she still felt lost like a child. Just like before Derek appeared, Dela woke up abruptly from the nightmare once more. She sat up drenched in cold sweat. Moonlight seeped through the fluttering curtains and spilled into the dim room. So it was a dream, Dela gasped, desperately trying to shake off the suffocating feeling from the dream. Miss, are you all right? Hearing the scream, the maid immediately rushed in. I just heard a very loud noise. Did something happen? The instant she saw the maid, a thought suddenly arose in Dela's mind. Derek was leaving because he no longer had a reason to stay here, and if she ruined everything again like before, Dela remembered clearly that Derek had said the initiative was in her hands. Miss, are you really all right? Do you feel unwell somewhere? The maid looked at Dela, even her voice trembled. At that moment, Dela hesitated intensely. If she made a big scene now, Derek might stay. In the end, Dela spoke. I am fine, I really am very fine. Because she suddenly realized that if she destroyed everything again, it would mean personally denying everything Derek had done. Even if Derek was going to leave, she would not allow herself to turn his efforts into a joke. In the blink of an eye, the day of farewell arrived. Will you get off at the entrance of Elbiast or in the commercial district? The commercial district is more convenient. Thank you for taking care of me. Say your goodbyes. We are about to depart. Hearing Ashlyn, Derek could not help but turn to look. Unlike the first time he came, this time almost the entire younger generation of the Duplian family had come to see him off. Are you really leaving now? I have to return to the place I came from. Life at the estate must not have been easy. You have worked hard these days. If you need anything in the future, contact me. As long as I can do it, I will help you. Thank you very much. After both nodded, Derek also lowered his head and returned the bow. When he raised his head, he looked toward the only person in the crowd who had not spoken. Dela kept her chin slightly raised, stubbornly looking at Derek. Why are you looking at me like that? Do you think I'm going to cry and beg you not to leave? Don't be mistaken, I am no longer a child. Being able to teach Miss Dela was an honor for me. Although you cannot openly and proudly say I am your teacher outside of here, at least do not forget the magic I taught you. I'm sorry, but I am going to openly and proudly say you are my teacher. Even if you want to keep a low profile, it's not for you to decide. After all, you are the teacher of the incredible Miss Dela. Dela thought Derek would respond to her, but Derek only silently looked at her. The more he did, the worse Dela felt. Don't get hurt being a mercenary. I will be fine, but Miss Dela, please take good care of yourself. I have nothing to worry about. I'm already an adult, now I can take care of myself. Hearing that, an old memory struck Derek's mind all at once. I am already an adult, now I can take care of myself. The day Kadia left, Derek had said exactly the same words, but Kadia was not relieved. Instead, she leaned over, even more worried, and hugged him tightly. Back then, Kadia whispered a very short phrase in his ear, but Derek did not understand it at all at the time. Now, with the passage of years, he had his own disciple. Seeing his disciple puff out her chest and say she had already grown up, he finally understood it. The girl was still too young. The road ahead was too long. The trials, too many. She would still have to go through more confusion and pain. In the waves of life, the girl who called herself an adult was, in reality, surprisingly fragile. So Derek returned word for word what his own teacher had told him back then. "Miss Dela, you do not need to become an adult so soon." Hearing that, Dela's pupils dilated sharply. Then she bit her lip hard. She was suppressing the emotion, but in the end she could not hold back the tears. She only looked at him silently, her eyes reddened. Seeing there wasn't much time left, Dela finally stopped hiding it. "Derek, goodbye." The girl let the tears fall, but with a smile bid farewell to her mentor. Soon she would go to Elbiast's social world, so Derek could also calmly say goodbye to her. "We will meet again in Elbiast." Soon after, the carriage slowly stopped in Elbiast's commercial district. When Derek pushed the tavern door open, a blonde girl was beating up a chubby boy. "Isn't this Derek? You finally returned." Derek said nothing, only smiled slightly. He had returned to his home. "Not this noble stuff, but your favorite mead, House's treat." "Thank you. Were you always this polite? How is it that after spending some time with nobles, you become even weirder? How did you manage, as a magic teacher, to make nobles behave so obediently? Tell me." "It was just work. There's nothing to talk about." "Putting on noble airs? What exactly happened? Telling me won't cost you a piece of flesh." "Bearing enough, I've practically been worked to death. Since this guy wasn't here, all the missions these days fell to me alone. But thanks to that, Derek must have made a bundle, right? Must feel great to pay the tab, eh? Compared to the payment, I obtained something more important." Derek placed the spellbook he had received from the Grand Duke in front of them. "Is this a 2-star spellbook? The nobles really gave you something so expensive." "It's not 2-star, it's 3-star. You didn't steal it, did you? If you get caught, they'll cut your head off." "So what if I stole it? That's a 3-star spellbook." "Derek, where did you steal it from? I'll go steal one too." "I didn't steal it, the Grand Duke gave it to me." Giving something like that to a commoner? Derek, you've acquired a bit of a noble air and learned to show off. It took Derek quite some time before he finally managed to make the two believe the spellbook really was a gift from the Grand Duke. "Any new commissions lately? You've barely been back a day and already want to take a job." "The sooner I start this kind of extermination work, the better. After being at a noble estate for so long, my body has become sluggish." "Don't worry, in this circle mages are never enough. There's no way commissions will be lacking." "Then arrange one for me as soon as possible, preferably one we can depart for tomorrow." Early the next morning, under the captain's orders, Derek and Perrin began a commission to eliminate magical beasts. While Derek was away, Perrin and Archer had undertaken missions alone and had suffered quite a bit. But now that Derek had returned, she finally didn't have to worry like before about lack of firepower. But what surprised Perrin was that Derek, freshly returned, was basically a workaholic. In a single day, they performed several commissions one after another. "These days have been too exhausting." And Perrin fell deeply asleep early every night. And Derek, as usual, found an empty corner and continued practicing 3-star magic. Through these real combats, Derek's understanding of 3-star magic clearly deepened. It was no longer that illusory feeling he couldn't grasp before. Now he had truly touched the threshold of 3 stars. That threshold before him made Derek fail over and over. Unlike 2-star, the power of 3-star magic was much greater. Each time a spell failed, the recoil hit him hard. He had already mastered most 2-star spells, but for a commoner, the 3-star threshold was still absurdly high. Still, Derek did not stop. He understood it very clearly. No matter how good your talent, if you don't pay a price, you cannot obtain results. Time passed silently in this way, and by the time Derek could use 2-star magic fluently, the first snow had also fallen in Elbiast. "It's too cold. How can it be so damn cold today?" "Being young is great. You really went to the Kent Mountains in this weather." "Who would have known it would end up like this? I'll warm up here a bit before leaving." "In this weather, probably only you two would go out on purpose to do missions." As the captain spoke, he handed them 2 hot towels. The two took the towels and wiped the blood from their faces. "Thank you, I feel like I finally survived." "You've worked hard, rest well tomorrow. There just happens to be a perfect commission for Derek." "Perfect for me?" "A commission that is easy and well paid, just a bit troublesome." It was a commission that had been rejected by the Rogel Mercenary Company in the West District, and the client was the house of Count Belmild. They wanted a commoner who could accompany nobles in magic duels. Speaking plainly, they wanted a punching bag. As long as Derek went there and endured a few spells, he could receive a considerable reward. But at that time, Derek still did not know that the person who had posted the commission was Arland, an acquaintance of Ashlyn S. So who will be my practice partner today? To practice today's offensive magic, I specifically recruited a commoner as an opponent. You traveled all the way from the north to Elbiast just so I could use magic to intimidate commoners. Combat training should be like this. We have already promised the commoner sufficient compensation. You can cast magic as much as you want. In the end, this is nothing more than hitting a commoner, and yet you still act with noble airs. But this time we recruited a commoner who can use one-star magic, so it won't be as if he has no ability to defend himself. But I am about to become a two-star mage. The difference between 1 star and 2 is not small. Miss Arland, if you truly respect your opponent, then please give it your all. Isn't that precisely the etiquette a training field should have? Soon after, Arland, guided by her teacher, met today's practice opponent. He is too young. Are you my practice opponent today? Hearing that, Derek stood up and bowed. Hello, my name is Derek. For some reason, the name Derek felt strangely familiar to Arland. Then, let's go up to the combat platform. Seeing how Derek was dressed, Arland thought he didn't look like a mage, but with the magic teacher urging her over and over, she had no choice but to go up onto the platform along with Derek. By the way, do you understand the basic etiquette of magic duels? I have heard of it, but I only know the most basic. Good, resist as best you can. I'll finish it quickly. Actually, Arland did not want to use magic to intimidate a weak opponent, so she planned to use a shockwave to quickly knock Derek off the platform. May I ask, when you say resist as best I can, to what extent do you want me to do it? Arland seemed astonished. What kind of ridiculous question was that? How much should I resist for Arland's training to be useful? Saying this, Derek, her magic teacher, could only shake his head helplessly, and Arland laughed on the platform. Are you trying to amuse me on purpose? I already said resist with all your might. Understood, I will obey your order. In the next instant, a magical glow ignited in Derek's hand. In Arland's eyes, for someone so young to reach 1 star was truly impressive. But as a commoner, his attitude was too arrogant. So in this duel, she had to make Derek clearly see that between commoners and nobles, there was a line that simply could not be crossed. She chose the 1-star spell Shockwave, which is normally used in training scenarios where the difference between both sides is too great, and the result can be decided instantly. But Derek's blood-red eyes suddenly narrowed, and Arland immediately felt something was wrong. Shockwave has no visible form. You have to perceive the magic instantly to judge its range. That not only demands strong magical perception, it also requires a body agile enough to dodge. At that moment, Arland briefly went blank, and immediately raised her evaluation of Derek in her mind. Arland, the next attack is on its way. A wave of anger surged in Arland's chest, so this boy's arrogance came accompanied by some skill. But that did not mean the gap between commoners and nobles would disappear. Arland's second spell choice was Ice Arrow. Unlike Dela, who had just begun to learn magic, the ice arrows Arland formed were purer in substance and sharper at the edge. Under her control, dozens of ice arrows spun and danced in the air like living creatures. Her thinking was simple. If you want to dodge, I'll use quantity to force you to have nowhere to dodge. Arland was surprised when Derek fired a single magic arrow. The young noble opened her eyes wide upon seeing her dozens of ice arrows split apart by that seemingly insignificant shot. When Arland came to her senses, Derek's magic arrow had already embedded itself in the ground at her feet. She couldn't believe it. A commoner could control magic with such a degree of precision. Arland's teacher could also see it. Derek's level, even among commoners, was first-rate. His claim of being a veteran mercenary wasn't just talk. In just 2 exchanges, Arland fully understood that the Derek before her could not be treated lightly. While reciting an incantation in the academy style, Arland increased the distance and mobilized 1-star magic again. This time, her expression became completely serious as she chose the fire element. Derek also noticed she had changed tactics. She was no longer trying to knock him down with precision. Now she intended to blow the entire martial platform to pieces. Arland adapted quickly. Upon finishing her spell, she raised her hand. Unlike the previous ice arrows, this time she condensed hundreds of flames. Thus, noble mages surpassed commoners through greater magical reserves and potency. They could overwhelm commoners of the same level. Derek judged immediately that with coverage like that, he had no way to dodge. He did not hesitate for an instant. He mobilized his magic on the spot. He fully deployed his defenses and took the entire barrage head-on. Fortunately, Derek was already a 2-star mage. Otherwise, he might have been pierced through in that round alone. And after spending so much magic all at once, Arland showed no sign of weakness. Only after the bombardment ended did Derek withdraw the barrier he had been maintaining. But at that same instant, he perceived an extremely faint magic fluctuation. So the fire arrows were only a distraction. Arlen's true killing blow was an ice spear she had secretly condensed while the smoke and flames blocked vision. At that distance, Derek had no time to dodge, nor to raise another barrier. He had to admit it. Miss Arlen truly was ingenious. In a fraction of a second, Derek pushed the potency of the one-star spell, Light Burst, to the limit. The explosive brilliance instantly devoured Arlen's vision. In circumstances like this, she could only keep her body steady by instinct. Against a common opponent, the outcome would already be obvious at this moment. Arlen repeated to herself over and over. Stay calm, listen for the sound, regain your rhythm. But although she used magical perception to dodge Derek's attack, still, she heard no sound. Arlen realized immediately that Derek had used a stunning spell, which could block sound. Luckily, at that moment, her vision had also recovered almost completely. Relying on the faint magical flow in the air, Arlen dodged Derek's magic arrow again. She could not accept it. This boy had terrifying combat experience. Arlen even began to suspect that in the last exchange, she actually hadn't dodged anything. Rather, Derek was holding back, forcing her to surpass her limits in a cruel way. And just as she expected, right in the second after she regained her vision, Derek fired 2 magic arrows in succession. Under that pressure, Arlen could only deploy a magical defense immediately. Just as she was about to gather magic to counterattack, Derek suddenly closed the distance. This, on the contrary, played to Arlen's favor. What she knew best was casting spells quickly. She told herself that, as long as she attacked first, the instant magic appeared at Derek's fingertips, she could end the duel. But what surprised Arlen was that Derek did not seem to show any sign of starting to cast. Until he planted his feet, there wasn't the slightest sign of magic on his fingers. At that moment, Arlen was utterly dumbfounded. Did I misjudge? However, the very next second, an electric current erupted from under Derek's feet. It was clearly the manifestation of current, a one-star spell, but Derek's casting point wasn't his fingers, it was his feet. Even so, Arlen managed to mobilize magic in the shortest possible time and defended against the attack. If not for that almost unnatural reaction speed, she would have lost a moment ago. Even Arlen's magic teacher couldn't help but praise him internally. It seems like the wild style, but you can't anticipate any of his moves. From an academic style perspective, it was even more impossible to comprehend. Truly, you are an interesting boy. To be honest, I underestimated you quite a bit at first, because back then I thought you were just someone who knew how to show off. As she spoke, Arlen slowly walked until she stood right in front of Derek. Although clearly the duel wasn't over, she suddenly bowed before Derek, solemn and serious. Thank you for teaching me something so interesting. A flash of mischievousness crossed the girl's eyes. Is this how it's done? After seeing it only once, she imitated the way Derek released magic. It wasn't sensible to try and decide the victory against Derek using an unorthodox method of magical manipulation. With a change in the flow of her magic, Derek directly guided Arlen's lightning bolt and twisted its direction, forcing it. An imitation of the wild style, when you only understand the surface, will only let others take advantage of you. Arlen, who still hadn't realized this, changed her expression instantly when she saw Derek's maneuver. Counterattacking by borrowing the opponent's magic was the first time she had seen a style like that. Seeing Derek advance step by step, Arlen already had the premonition that she wouldn't be able to withstand the next wave. But right at that moment, a shrill bell suddenly rang outside the field. It turned out the 10 minutes of the duel had ended, so the result was considered a draw. The moment the bell rang, Derek also held back the spell he was about to cast. You've worked hard. As if nothing had happened, Derek bowed calmly. But Arlen knew very well that today hadn't been a draw at all. She had lost. From then on, Arlen's attitude towards Derek clearly changed. Although she still maintained her haughtiness, she at least showed the minimum degree of respect. You are an exceptional mage. It is Miss Arlen who is exceptional. I've never seen reflexes like yours. From your appearance, it's clear you understand the noble world well. I heard you were born a commoner, but with your strength you must have made efforts that transformed you. I have to survive as a mercenary, so willing or not, I had to learn. There's no need to be so modest. I admire people who are willing to make an effort, but that old magic mentor behind me, he doesn't appreciate you much. You'd better not provoke him. Thanks to you, I learned a lot. Next time we practice, perhaps we can get a better result. With your strength, there's nothing to worry about. Those mediocre types, of course, don't deserve to be my opponents. The person I really want to defeat is, in an instant, a familiar face appeared in Arlen's mind. Ashlyn Aliner Duplian. The opponent she could never defeat no matter how many times they faced each other. Thinking of her, Arlen's brow unconsciously furrowed. Unknowingly, she said something cold again. You may return first. If you need help again in the future, you can send someone to look for the captain of the Veldrin Mercenary Company. Every time she thought of Ashlyn, Arlen's tone unconsciously turned colder. But she suddenly remembered Derek from the Veldrin Mercenary Company. She seemed to have heard that name more than once. At that moment, Arlen suddenly remembered. At the last gathering, Ashlyn had mentioned that mercenary's name. It was Derek. Thinking of that, Arlen's eyes widened. Could it be that the magic mentor who taught Dela one-star magic was you? At that moment, Arlen no longer cared about noble decorum. She hurriedly approached and grabbed Derek's hand directly. Derek was also a little surprised. Why was she so agitated all of a sudden? Is it really you? The mercenary who taught Dela magic. Derek must have stayed with Arlen until late. I will defeat Ashlyn no matter what. Ashlyn of the Duplians. Yes, they still haven't reached the 2-star level. I want to advance to 2 stars faster than her, even if I can't. At the very least, I want to beat her once in our next practice combat. Your competitive spirit truly is extraordinary. Competitive spirit. It seems I've hidden it quite well. Perhaps now it's just competitiveness, but in the past, to beat her, I even resorted to despicable methods. Hearing that, Derek fell silent. This wasn't a moment for him to interrupt. Jealousy is dirty and ugly. I've also been jealous of Ashlyn, but the result was ironic. No matter how much I spoke ill of her behind her back or criticized her flaws. Ashlyn, on the other hand, understood and comforted me. After Arlen fell silent for a moment, Derek finally spoke. Why are you telling me all this? I'm showing my weakness so you can see my sincerity. Of course, I also have some questions to ask you. Please, go ahead. Since you've been with the Duplian family, you must know very well how strong Ashlyn really is, and you've also just seen my strength. So I ask you, what exactly must I do to defeat Ashlyn? It was evident that Arlen had always been living in Ashlyn's shadow. Hearing this question, Derek also fell silent. He thought for a long time before giving his answer. Miss Ashlyn's strength really is astonishing, but Miss Arlen, you are also excellent. So as long as you keep honing your strength mid-sentence, Derek suddenly stopped. They say the eyes are the window to the soul, and the girl before him clearly wasn't there to hear compliments. In Arlen's eyes, there was only sincerity and seriousness. Only then would she confide her feelings to a vulgar mercenary. At a moment like this, empty words would be an insult. Derek held her gaze for an instant and finally spoke, "You can't win." Never. Generally, there were only 2 possible reactions to words like those, so Derek kept his gaze fixed on her face. If she reacted irrationally, Derek would leave immediately and never return. If she broke down, Derek would stay first to comfort her. But the girl's response was, "Even so, I still want to win." There wasn't even an instant of hesitation on Arlen's face. Only then did Derek understand. Perhaps she had already heard that answer more than once. Didn't you even teach that notorious Dela to become a 1-star mage? If it's you, you must have a way to make me beat Ashlyn, right? It's not that there is absolutely no way to try, but before that, there are 2 things I cannot let pass. Hearing this, Arlen resumed that noble posture once more. Let's talk properly. What 2 things? First, do you know how I taught Miss Dela back then? Derek wasn't of the academic style, nor did he have any proper mentor airs. Compared to a patient, guiding teacher, he was more like a mercenary fulfilling a mission. He didn't choose the gentle path. He only picked the most efficient means available at that moment to reach the objective. I don't know the details, but you have nothing to worry about. To win, I can do anything. Second point, as you know, I'm a mercenary. So what? Let them say what they want. Just say the famous Miss Arlen is learning magic from a mercenary. But Derek, I mean it seriously. I'm determined to become someone recognized throughout the Empire. If I can't even get first place in LBS social circle, it would be ridiculous. So don't use those trivial reasons to doubt my sincerity. I understand better than anyone what matters more than pride. While the girl expressed these bold ambitions, Derek was as calm as if he were listening to a mission report. I didn't mean that. I mean you have to pay a reasonable fee. There are no mercenaries in this world who work for free. Arlen froze as if someone had pressed the pause button on her. When she realized she had misunderstood, her cheeks flushed instantly. So that's what you meant. Well, of course, any amount is fine. By the way, is the room a bit warm? Derek knew very well that, since she sought victory sincerely, he also had to respond with sincerity, using the hardest and most effective method.